sign into that, we've already signed into everything else. Idiots. Your password was changed 10 minutes ago.
$4.45. Try some mention.
You see, YouTube, this is why everybody hates you. This is why TikTok was such a runaway success.
Five 413C. Time to call me at 9509.
$4.3, 63. 6 or more. Got a white Dodge pickup, Kansas 380 for Lincoln Union, unknown offensive eye. Door tag is native active 2015 white Ram to a Donald Williams 6538 Southwest 25th Street. Simple.
Give me that Chelsea call over.
414. Good. 10 first information does appear to be on the north end of building 6, so we don't have no problem number. No history with the phone with that location.
Can you run the subject that I added to the call for 1029 and
online
for 1046?
414 north end of building 6.
There we go.
Your subject is native, things Clancy Charles, and I will let you know.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 30 seconds latency. Good job, YouTube.
Good.
Could you also run my subject for firearm prohibitors?
So we're going to make sure it's single. It's 1046 on signal 1.
1040.
2022.
Could you also run my subject for firearm prohibitors?
So we're going to make sure it's single. It's 1046 on signal 1.
to 1019.
Did they get it verification?
2323.
Go ahead.
Your subject is negative triple I for both.
Thank you. We also have one in transport, adult male.
2024.
Go ahead.
Your subject is negative triple I for both.
This is the way I hate all this shit.
We also have one in transport, adult male.
Dick around and bullshit.
Sir, 5024.
Okay, there I am. Fucking online.
Where's the delay?
5024. So it's not
That one.
450.
That one there.
454.
I have to fix up things easier. Big get tomorrow is white. Then take it a little yellow. Tentative yellow. We're listening to the police here. Here in Topeka, Kansas. And if you don't like it, keep your head up.
No.
One of the many things that TikTok got right. Basically, once you're kind of set up, you have your account set up, you just go off and push about your life. And, you know, you don't have to look up your stuff. YouTube and a lot of these, and Facebook, you have to screw with all of this shit. Through a whole rigmarole. And then take up the first few minutes of your live stream, take a shit, make sure it's all running right. And then try to show by that time you're in a bad mood and you hate the world. And all you can do is sit there and say, I hate everything. I'm gonna do this for you know what I mean?
1500. No.
You can chat and chat while I'm reading there too. That.
Go ahead.
You need me out there.
I haven't made it to Scott yet. But if you want to float this way,
Feel free to put me on my phone.
More beautiful.
please don't you?
So TikTok, shut down for a lot of, yeah. People are paying you compliments on my paintings online. Ain't that something? Okay. Let's shut this off.
Four 14, 1023.
2031.
He's like Jesus himself. Entertaining that I hate.
I don't know any casinos in LA. There are any casinos in LA, but like there's
Who?
casinos like right outside LA, like Riverside.
So we're not going to watch it. Instead, let's see what they got. Yep. Says they're not available, but some others put video playing. Let me check my messages. Oh. There's supposed to be some big UFO news. And now there's no big UFO news. Not that I see. You ever notice the YouTube mobile app kind of sucks? The big feeding partner.
Okay, launching it now. Okay. Launch chat. Oh my fucking god, yo, can I get $1 million in the chat? Yo, can I get banned from Nightbot and I don't care? For Kayla? fucking insane manner? Holy shit. Hey, look, you're incredible. I love that. I will put that.
All that for good. Yep. We're going to listen to Dr. Stephen Greer. She's just out full of shit, that full of shit motherfucker is.
Hello everyone, this is Dr. Stephen Greer, and this is the first episode of our podcast, the Dr. Stephen Greer podcast. And the reason we're starting this podcast now, rather urgently here today, is because we have a group of people who are in the process in the next 72 hours or so who will be coming forward with a great deal of information and evidence related to the UFO and NHI, or extraterrestrial issue. And I think the public is going to need to have a
NHI is not human
context. And
if he wasn't an idiot, he would tell you.
I feel that this is the time for me to start a podcast like this. We're going to be eager to let everyone, put the word out that we're doing this, because I think without the context and interpretation, understanding, there'll be too many opportunities for the disclosure of this.
The funny thing is, everything about the guy's life
and create all kinds of confusion.
Intel operative.
When we do these, we're going to try to do them every week if possible. I'll be traveling a great deal with what's happening, but we have a portable setup here, and we'll just kind of do it on the road.
We got a portable setup here. It means you have a fucking phone, idiot.
On a weekly basis, and maybe more than that, there are further breaking events. And one thing I'd like to ask everyone to do is to share the link to this podcast with everyone else and put it up on sites so it gets
Everything about this guy's Intel agent. Oh, he's
what we've
whistle.
been doing just leading up to this. For those of you who are new to the Disclosure Project, I just want to introduce what we've been doing for the last 34 years. I was a young medical emergency and trauma doctor when I started this project, and it's evolved. And a little bit of background would be helpful for you guys.
I'm tired of
When I
these.
first started, the intent was to
He
initiate
says some
a program
interesting
where
things.
humans would make contact with these civilizations that are non-human who are visiting here in a context of peace, and to advance relationships between humans and these other life forms of what's now called NHI, or non-human intelligence. Within about a year or two, I was approached by people in the intelligence community and the U.S. government about the problem, and some of them were hostile to what we were doing, for reasons we'll unpack in subsequent episodes, and some were wanting to help. And so in the early years of the Clinton administration, I was asked to brief the incoming director of the CIA for President Bill Clinton, and that subsequently led to a number of things you're going to hear about with
There's certain things about the way it says,
that are now, ironically,
from the Intel community, from this Intel to that Intel
this week. And
organization, we blah, blah, blah.
that is how I got
They're
involved
hostile to what we were doing.
with my medical career. And those of you who've seen the documentaries Unacknowledged, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, the Lost Century, and others, and those are all available for free on various streaming sites for you to look at to get context. You'll know there's been a long trajectory of working on this, and I've been dealing with, most recently, Senate Intelligence and Armed Services Committee, and key people in the U.S. government, as well as foreign prepare them for this disclosure that's now happening. The team that will be coming forward, we'll get to in a moment, is everyone sort of a good background context context of how we got from there to here. And so it's a big story, 34 years of work. Now, one thing all of you can go to is you go to dpiarchive.com, which has the entire disclosure project intelligence archive up there. It's 34 years of evidence, material, hundreds of top secret whistleblowers. It gives you the location of 150 plus sites where UFO and UAP activity has been going. Some of them are key black sites that are that we've mapped, and all of that information is from some of the over 700 whistleblowers that I have debriefed over the years.
One of the things
Intelligence and information. So the Disclosure Project has become the biggest repository of intelligence and information on the subject, and exceeds
turned over corporations
and key people in the Pentagon have
simply for product and technology
those illegally run programs.
development, especially for the military industrial complex.
There's the constitutional government.
They want to protect their
People in
ordinary
that government have no idea what's going on. And I can say that with authority because I'm one of the
patents and things.
who has briefed people at that level of government since
They
1990.
masquerade and
I
they
briefed
be
the incoming
some sort of
governmental
governmental.
director. Then the other part of it is in Congress. Most people in
But
Congress
there's just corporate.
they know nothing about the subject, even if they're in key oversight committees. So this has been something that was a shock to me. It's going to be a shock to you. It's going to be a shock to the world and the American public to find out that the constitutional government in the United States since the late 1950s have been basically put aside and relegated to irrelevance, frankly, on this issue since the late Eisenhower years. And so this whole history we will unpack over a series of these episodes. It's very important to understand the context of how we got from there to here. But importantly, is that there are a number of people coming forward from various black sites, which are highly classified, illegally run operations in intelligence, military, and corporate programs. And those guys that I've been meeting with for about almost 2 years now, 20 months, have decided to come forward publicly, identify themselves, and in a controlled release begin to give the information to the American people and the U.S. government. So this is a very complex program. It's now coming to a sort of a crescendo, and this is why I think we need to be talking with each other every week or so.
So let's go to the first question, which is going to be about human technology. What is the real capacity of human technology?
Right. Well, here, the biggest part of this story is the extraterrestrial. Ironically, that's secondary. And in fact, people who have been in these covert programs that are very disinformation oriented have wanted the public to believe they're not alone, but that there's a threat from outer space. And most of you who are familiar with my work know what Bernard von Braun, through his spokesperson for the last 5 years of his life, Carol Raza, said when he was dying, and in 1974 said the whole purpose of these covert programs, one of the big overarching purposes, is to be able to hoax a attack or an alien threat and present the extraterrestrial presence as a threat so that they can consolidate military power, industrial power, and also pivot the population through fear into realizing there's another enemy to fight. Now, when you're doing that, it's a long-term psychological warfare operation. And the best way to do that is once it's figured out and reverse engineered the extraterrestrial vehicles, the NHI craft, as we're calling them now, non-human intelligence craft. Those then began to be deployed in the late 1950s into operational craft that looked like a UFO. For most people in the lay public, they're indistinguishable from
In the late 70s, people grew up partying on Saturday. Or partying. People don't, are probably better. Or wrapped up in their movie or whatever. They're getting busy fucking whoever they need to do right there. In other words, what we use paint on such a night is not in their top list.
And those have been used in deceptive operations known as false flag operations. And these include everything that's in the pop culture on the subject, human abductions by aliens, mutilations of cattle and humans, and all kinds of skullduggery. Now we can prove, if you go to our archive, that this has been a CIA psyop for many, many decades now. And if you look at the Lost Century and some of the other documentaries we've done, we put that evidence in there. I'm not going to unpack all that right now. But the big story has always been the technology. Because without the technology, they couldn't host the threat, which is completely foreign. Any understanding of this? Any of the members of Congress have seen this, like Congressman Chestnut said, if they were hostile, we would have been totally obliterated by now with what we've been doing as soon as we detonated the first atomic weapons. So the real issue becomes, if they were hostile, what are we still doing? You know, and why are we still here targeting them and knocking them out of the sky? We'll get into this in a moment. It's because they're not hostile. They're here to help us and understand us, but they're waiting for us, humans, to grow up to a level of evolution where we can live peacefully on the planet, become a planet using advanced technology, i.e. not fossil fuels or solar or what have you, but very advanced technologies in physics, and then join them out in space eventually in an interplanetary society over the long haul, over hundreds of thousands of years. That's their objective. Now, the objective of covert programs has been to attack these objects, seize them, study how they work, what's called reverse engineering, where you take something and you take it apart, you study it, study it, study it, figure out how it works, and then rebuild it to the best of your ability. Those reverse engineering programs started in the 1940s, and they hit really major paper, let's say, results in October 1940. We have that information from the top scientists at the Naval Research Labs, the biggest Department of Defense labs in the world, who saw that document in, quote, the vault some years ago in the 1990s and informed us about that. So I think most of the problems we're going to run into with disclosure
That's why rock my world here is Steve Greer.
the general public and media understanding what the technologies are that have been figured out
I
already.
guess this is still a preamble to whatever big news
Malicious
is.
ways. So I think this is why we have to have this conversation now, because those systems, not only have they already been used to create the specter of danger from outer space, and never mind Hollywood and the media, everything ufological being very terrifying to the general public. But I think that with this coming out, there's a big risk that they will be start hitting buttons to make more and more false flag operations happen. And the only way they can get away with that are populace and our leaders being tricked. And the only way you can prevent people from being tricked is having the knowledge, facts of what we actually have. So that's what I want to talk about for just a moment. Now imagine this, put this in your paradigm. The week that the head of the Lockheed Skunk Works, fabled director of that, Ben Rich, was passing away, he told a member of our team, a friend of mine, James Goodall, a very well-known aerospace historian, that we had figured all this out. This is now 1995, so this is 30 years ago. And he says that anything you can imagine, anything you've seen on Star Trek, we already have and it's not at Area 51. It's out there in the desert with the Lockheed Skunk Works. Now, I've been at that facility, and I've been there the last 15 months. So what he was saying was that we have figured this out, but folks who have, let's say, an overarching desire to control the population through fear, through endless war, through control of the energy sector, which is key. They don't want the full truth out. They want part of the truth out. And they want the part that redounds to their benefit and serves their agenda. This is why in 1999 I wrote a paper, you can see on our website, drstephenbrewer.com, that states that this is the disclosure that serves secrecy. And the disclosure of the subject that serves the secret agenda, which is what that means, is a disclosure that represents a threat and where they can hoax a threat. And then that causes the world to unite sort of around a dystopic, totalitarian military response, like the movie Independence Day. You look at that, that's right out of CIA scripting, against the ETs. So now how could they do that? They couldn't pull that off if they hadn't figured out how these objects work. I will tell you that from 1995 to now, the man-made craft, they're called ATs, advanced technology, or ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles. They're used interchangeably. The euphemism used actually in the aerospace industry is just AT, an advanced technology, which of course is vague deliberately. And those craft, at this point, are to even very trained eyes, virtually indistinguishable from an extraterrestrial vehicle. So that creates a big problem, because if we do not get those powerful interests under some kind of safe and peaceful control of those technologies, then those could be unleashed to stage, hoax, all kinds of problems on a number of fronts. So whatever you think, remember this, in context of the recent Corona events, all kinds of events have been happening, whatever you think humans have in these deep black programs, these illegal black programs, it's more and it's worse. Now, the good news, now let's talk about the other side of it. The good news is that it's a controlled and safe release of that information and technology, which is the objective of this group of defectors and whistleblowers coming out in the next couple of days, is that we can transform the world economy and civilization to where we reach what's called a level 1 civilization, which you probably talked about, where we're no longer damaging the environment. Within 20 years, there's no poverty on the planet. There's this big leap forward for all of humanity, not just the United States, but the United States would obviously lead that because we're the largest military and economic power on the planet. And it would also the environment, visualize, if you will, like during the movie. But no one was going anywhere. And there were mountains in urban areas in the distance that you couldn't see for decades, and they were crystalline because nobody was driving and there was no industrial output. But imagine full advanced technological civilization, but you have this wonderful technology that's pulling the energy out of the fabric of the space around an object, what's called the quantum vacuum, zero-point energy field. And that technology is safely deployed to run the planet, to run your house, to run your car, to run African villages, to run villages in the rainforest in the Amazon so they don't have to cut down the forest to make charcoal to cook their food. This will be, within 20 years, the biggest advancement in human history, in known recorded human history. Way more. There's nothing that comes close. But that's why it's also secret. In other words, what I've been told by people in the national security apparatus who've been on the side of keeping this secret, and I've had many meetings like that, is that it's too good. And what that means is it's disruptive. You know, the internet was disruptive, horse and buggies were eliminated by cars and engines. Typewriters were replaced by keyboards and computer systems. There will be winners and there will be losers. But the real winner is all of humanity and the earth herself, because we'll have a sustainable civilization within our, well, I'm not just spring chicken, but perhaps even within my lifetime, where it won't even resemble the way the world is today. So it's a very forward-looking, positive event happening. But there are also these landmines out there. In other words, very powerful interests who don't want to have us go into that future could start disrupting that future. And this is why, in a moment, we'll talk about what else needs to be done by the President, the Congress, and the heads of states of other countries. And that's going to be a key part of what we'll be discussing over the coming weeks, months, and years on this platform.
Okay, then.
Dr. Barrett, you talked about this transnational organization that controls this. Can you explain this to the audience and talk about the urgency to neutralize the capabilities of this organization? Because I think too many people think it's the government covering it up, and they don't have a clear idea of who is actually behind the company.
Yeah, this is a great question, Michael. And, one of the thing that tilted my life was December 13th, 1993, when I had a long meeting with the director of the CIA, for Goodwin, Archangels. A meeting he subsequently denied happening because, well, my commentary on that is you don't want to hear it. But it's Washington, and it's lawyers and politicians, and what happened. And everybody knows what happened. So, but as a consequence of that first, what I realized is that the constitutional government, we the people, it's present. Most of it. Elected officials, a few devils that are in there who are on the payroll of this group.
Hello, very nice meeting. Thank you.
About the subject.
Everything fine there? Well, yes, I am. If you're still here, by the time we get back.
Members of Congress and most people.
Two watching now, that I'm one.
And that is a tragedy, and it's dangerous.
Tremendous
So,
lag.
the organization that
How are you,
is
Ian?
not just U.S. It is actually a transnational criminal organization that's highly covert, and that is a fact.
Now, listening to Dr. Stephen Greer,
Proven in any court of law.
like a
I want to
UFO.
remind people, one of our early disclosure project witnesses who appeared at the National Press Club in 2001, almost 24 years ago, right before 9/11, is a man named Carl.
You're still here.
Deceased.
Great.
He, in 1968,
So am I.
was at Langley Air Force Base at a national security agency
Did you ever watch me on
an
TikTok?
operation where they were analyzing the
Of course,
early
TikTok is now
technologies coming back from
offline for the most part.
that went around the moon to map
I've
it.
broadcasted on there for a while. I actually started on YouTube.
He was called in
It moves around to different
business department operation. He walks
platforms. And
It's up on our
almost going to bed. Yep.
website, dpiarchive.com.
It's kind of late in most areas of the world.
There's people from all over the world in there.
Well,
Other countries that you tell those
in half the areas
no,
of
they
the
were
world.
departmented operation dealing with this. That was 1968. That was, how many years is that now? A long time. So, yeah, going on 60 years, 50, 57 years ago almost. And so, when you think about that, extrapolate that data point, that whistleblower, and I've heard this from many others, and what you have to realize
You keep company a little bit before sleep. Okay, great.
is not only
What part of the
it's
world
dispersed
are you
throughout the
in?
world and is embedded
I'm in
in
Topeka, Kansas,
Kansas. It's gone through the whole body
right in the middle of the United States.
and have enough technologies and power and money and influence to maintain a corrupt enterprise. So this is
It's
why
kind of interesting to see how
they've
this
been able to get this under control up till now.
TikTok thing is going to
The good news is that they're
play out, because it was Trump actually who started the whole
they wanted to
thing to ban TikTok.
It's by no means over, and this is why another part of what we've been doing, and I mean this is in this.
And there's a lot of different kind of conspiracy theories on why he might have done that.
This is a new briefing document for the incoming administration and Congress, and it's the biggest.
Now, Biden basically came down the road,
But
said let Trump deal with it.
and there are a series of executive orders, and for the president and recommendations.
And Trump has made
Also, there are versions of this
remarks that seemed like he was
elsewhere that were briefing.
going to reverse his
And it
decision.
very clearly recommends that there needs to be a law enforcement
Presumably just to
stood up that gets these programs,
appease people.
on a leash and gets them under control, because the technologies that they have are so advanced that when they are used maliciously, and they have been already, in many ways.
But all of my hacker friends thinking that we're going to
That is a threat to national security, versus global security.
info
This
security
is something that can't continue, because the technology arc from the 40s to now,
complex
it was gradually moving,
business.
and it went like this. And it
They
continues
all
to
want to be away from TikTok, saying bad news.
and this is not
all
things
spyware.
that we see, you know, at MIT and Harvard. These are in covert
We
programs,
still busted them
engineering and science
to get
programs
to
that we
spy on
use.
journalists.
And those technologies, when they're used,
You know, you're from South America, Rio de Janeiro,
as a medical doctor, I know of ones that are being
or they have Instagram, right?
and for
I'd love to go to Rio de Janeiro sometime.
fixing very chronic problems as well as
I'll be back after 20.
but at the same time,
Yeah, it's,
those technologies have applications that would save the biosphere and eliminate
I
poverty.
like, there's a lot of things I like
And
about
same
TikTok.
technology can be used as a weapon, right? So all technology is
The guy like me go on
what
there,
it is who is wielding it,
get,
knowing how it's used,
and
who's
viewers
the
actually find it.
consciousness and the motivations
But,
of people who wield technology.
but I better discover the building.
And that gets into almost an existential question, isn't it? Spiritually, not necessarily religiously, but what is the consciousness of people who have that technology? war, or do they want a world of peace and of universal peace on earth?
Okay, touch that one up a little bit.
This becomes really dispositive, in
Many
determining
flowers there.
how the outcome of this whole endeavor
Oh, followers there?
going on for so long.
Yeah, on TikTok I had about 600 or 700
So what
followers,
happens
if that's what you're asking.
is past this graveyard. So there is a separate.
And I was gaining more.
I've checked with them. Okay to say what I'm about to tell you.
But whether or not they'll be able to follow me to here and find here,
All of this is,
I don't know.
but there's a special access program.
Make money off it. Yeah.
That has been.
Yeah.
We've been briefing persons.
There's a lot of people that made businesses out of TikTok. Those people would be screwed.
And also his senior operators. These are guys who've been Green Berets, special
Of course,
forces,
there's
in the military now, and are prepared
Mark Zuckerberg is the guy that owns
to go forward
Facebook.
sensitive and damaging aspects of these illegal covert operations under control here in the United States.
Elon Musk and some of these people who,
Outside the continent of the United States. CONUS is out of the United States.
Twitter.
CONUS is outside the continent of the United States. So
some people say that they basically were paying
they have not yet gotten the
Trump to try and
to go.
shut TikTok down. They didn't want to
What's
compete.
coming out this week and in the subsequent weeks and months, this is going to be a gradual release over the next few months.
But now that TikTok is going to be forced to sell to America,
This is in the executive orders of the incoming president, the current president, and the Congress.
they're going to want Trump to negotiate a deal for their favor,
Made to Bill
so
Clinton
they can buy it.
3 years. So, it's kind of, for me, we won't get it, but it's been like, but
That won't entirely surprise me.
mind blowing.
Yeah,
Fine journey. But at this point, we're at this inflection.
in most of my
There are enough people
videos I did on TikTok, just like this, be painting
problems of these covert programs that want out. They wanted to, let's call it they're calling these legacy programs, the old operations from the 40s till now. They want out of that, and they want a pathway out. This is why that operation, we're hoping, will not have programs.
Yeah, that's true. But Trump started the process. Then Congress voted on it, voted to ban TikTok, then it went to the Supreme Court.
And if it doesn't happen, it can be
And
dangerous. So
the Supreme Court upheld it.
cannot be overstated. I'm not
And,
frightening to people, but it cannot be
yeah,
overstated.
but I suppose, I
The
guess,
good news is that there is
the president could
critical mass of people coming forward
veto
to let
that.
that happen. The bad news is that the constitutional leaders who are elected and appointed don't have enough information.
Yeah, curious to see how it's all going to play out.
Detail.
How it's all going to work out.
These assessments were offered to do that and help them with this. It's also why this team of guys who are defecting dealt with this very up front, and at a high level. The lead guy I've been dealing with has been involved since 1995, almost 30 years as a young special forces guy, and now he's I've been there. So we're wanting to help the governments here and around the world come together forward that is peaceful and is a transformation rather than a conflict. So that's our objective. By the way, this is why if you go all the way back to the Clinton era, I had recommended a period of amnesty for people who've been involved in these programs, and even though there have been some horrific things done, kidnappings, murder, torture, embezzlement, and the aggregate probably trillions of dollars of federal monies, et cetera, and so on, that if people come forward and they actually come clean and are agreed to make a new chapter happen, this beautiful development for humanity, that they have amnesty extended to them. Now, those of you who follow the minutiae of this, about a year ago, in late December of 2023, the provision for safe harbor, which is amnesty, these kinds of figures.
Yeah, as long as it was
the Senate, the day after our June,
I know there's some
July, no, it was June
American
2020.
bands that tour down there.
They passed that, and I had helped
That toured all over the world with some bands that just not
language
listed
in that Senate
government
amendment
bill.
to the Defense Authorization Act, and that got passed overwhelmingly by the Senate, but it was ripped apart in the House of Representatives by just a handful of bad actors who I'm pretty certain are on in the back pocket of these legacy, covert, and rather disturbing programs. We know who they are, and we're watching them very carefully. But that means
Supposedly on Monday, they're gonna start the big mass deportations.
Congress and also in the White House. Because this
Starting in maybe Chicago and Denver.
communities and other mechanisms.
And that's gonna get ugly.
Branches can also be done by revisiting this in the Congress, which I've been told in meetings with folks attached to the senior folks attached to the Intelligence Committee are part of that operation, that they are going to pursue that.
That's just stupid move all the way around. It's gonna be bad for the economy.
You know, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. We all, including this, my friends who are coming forward, their brothers in arms, as it were, coming forward with all this information. We really want this to be a positive, transformative event, not a conflict.
It sounds exactly.
And that is very well within the possibility now. But there are certain things that we, the people,
Well, there
need to
is,
ask
because
our
this-
government to do, whether it's Congress or the president.
No, yeah, I'm watching
There's a
that.
new president. By the way, I am not a partisan. I have dealt with
There's a
both
few YouTube videos there.
sides of the aisle since 1990.
This is from the
So, just to be clear, this
the way
is
they overlay some of those.
it's global and it's not partisan. But we deal with whoever is in the office of the president, the presidency, but
But,
also
yeah,
the Congress and whoever's
Trump's stupidity and all his followers
that changes.
yeah, let's support all the Mexicans, but
Which is the way democracy
with those,
now.
I don't know how they think they're gonna do it, but with those people,
If this isn't started,
Trump's troopers go marching through the streets, and then he's gonna pick up every Mexican and
is that
put them on a bus
and
and take them to a concentration camp. You know, there's an awful lot of Mexican people that were fucking born here. They've never been out of here.
programs turn into plowshares, and the ones that stay as swords need to be
And,
monitored and put on a very short leash. That has not happened.
That's gonna be a,
legal controlling authority,
quite a thing.
constitutionally here or in Great
That
Britain.
could get really ugly.
Where I've been, Australia,
And everybody compares this to
Minister of Defense, etc.
late 1930s, not too early.
Control over it. So
It's gonna
that
be-
is actually a big threat to world and national security. The biggest part of the threat is
You
that
frequently can have with
very
him.
advanced
I'm afraid of what's gonna happen. I mean, he's already basically threatened.
weapons that you have from
You know, he made the speech where he says, you're not gonna have to vote anymore after this, don't worry about it, there'll be no more voting. It's like he's gonna do away with the Democratic system and put himself in charge forever. The good thing is he's gonna die in a few years. One way or another. He's 78 years old now, and really not great health. Does not have a healthy lifestyle, so, but there's gonna be other people, just like him or even worse. And it's just not gonna be a democracy anymore.
This gentleman, our code name right now until it comes out in the next few hours and days is the knock. It's the non-official super guy. You know, so
And some people don't think,
when I went out to this site,
well, that's just fine and dandy.
right before I was critically injured, we and the director of this strike team, law enforcement team, Green Gray, were in his job. We flew over
So yeah, I'm pretty afraid of what's,
that he's involved with. of
What's
them
gonna
are
happen?
flying around that side of the opening, the underground opening, where the man-made craft come up that look like
It's not gonna be pretty.
and are tested over this range. And we have all these photos and videos, and they're in our archives. Here to look at it. So he said that 1 or 2 ET craft a year, even now, are targeted and down over that one site. Now, remember, there's sites like this all over the world, not just United States.
Yeah, I'm not a big Trump supporter. I did not vote for
That
him.
means that while there's no evidence these civilizations visiting us are hostile, they are certainly concerned about our hostility. And the only question is the patience and largesse that have been shown to us as an evolving younger brothers and sisters in the cosmos. How much longer will that patience last when our
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have not been painting for very long.
and more powerful.
I started painting like last April
And we're
of
using
last
it
year,
against
not
them
even
to
a
press
year.
and their craft, and perhaps their worlds. So I think this gets into a bigger national security and global security issue, is that we're going to have to come together as a whole world and have a global treaty to keep these weapons, these technologies free of weapons against each other and against in space, because we cannot put any of these weapons
Yeah, I really do too.
that are being used this way.
Yeah, there's a lot of European countries
One of the problems
kind of swarm to the right.
is that they leave out one key ingredient, and I understand
Italy kind of, if I understand it right, Italy kind of voted in a
40 other countries.
right-wing
And
government.
all of those
Of course, we got Putin trying to
off of craft and
reform the old Soviet Union.
and that those other countries are ready to sign
And a lot of those countries
don't
don't really want to be part of the Soviet Union.
because we cannot act as if we're operating in a vacuum. I've always said we're going out into space and doing these things, not calculating into this the fact that we're not alone. And the idea that people just sort of think, well, we're down in the whole cosmos. No, we're not. And we're sort of the younger brothers and sisters coming along technologically, but we cannot allow an unappointed, unsupervised, illegal operation to continue to endanger the Earth and engage in these kinds of ridiculous operations. So
No, what I'm doing is never took any lessons or anything.
what is the global response, both in terms of us working together as humans and humanity, but also what is our response to these visitors? So in 1990, 35 years ago, we started a program called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. You can look at the movie by the same title. It's free to see on a number of sites. But you see it on our YouTube channel, I believe. You know, is that right? Not yet, you will be. The point is that that movie describes a program of humans coming together as sort of citizens, ambassadors.
I like painting in acrylics because if you make a mistake, you just let it dry and you
The
like painting
guys
over
that
it.
are coming forward from these covert programs, they really love that idea. And they love the idea that we take and pivot away from a confrontational stance.
Oh, you mean about Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were really like stressed out, like lose temper and get angry, or just mostly just disappointed, kind of stressed out. But I mean, I don't lose my temper. And,
to something that would
you know.
generate, quote, free energy for the Earth
I know some people do. They'll go a lot of Trumpers who
and eliminate poverty globally. It would be this
get really pissed off and lose their temper. People like me.
condition we're in now.
And I'm a little more in control than that, you know.
I believe you can see that on Tubi and some other streaming.
Yeah,
It describes that we've lost 100 years of human evolution.
I'm kind of more bummed out about it than anything else.
Of these advanced technologies all the way back to the time of Nikola Tesla. So we need to play about 100 years catch up. We also need to do it on other levels in terms of human consciousness and our social evolution, so that we're no longer having to view everything we don't understand as an enemy to shoot at. And unfortunately, that is a fact. I remember sitting, and excuse my language here, in Senator Barry Goldwater's living room back in the 90s, and he was the senior.
We're living in interesting times, that's for sure.
Johnson in 1964 for president, and was a very conservative Republican, and he knew of this subject just through contacts in the military, but he never had been read into it even as a presidential candidate for the Republicans or as chairman of different committees over the years and a ranking member. He's a very senior senator, and he said he'd been denied access to any of these programs, and when he asked about them, was actually threatened by
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of, in a way, this,
he was told
a bunch of people that are just starting to panic. People are packing into a sardine can, just now starting to figure out what's going on. They're like, oh no, we made a huge mistake.
But one of the conclusions that Senator Goldwater reached, he said, you know, and this was back about 3 years ago, saying that his home out in Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, that area, and he says, it was a goddamn mistake then, it's a goddamn mistake now that this was ever missed. So now, saying it ain't making it so. So I said, well, Senator, I absolutely agree with you, but what are we going to do about it? And so that is, you know, the evolution of this has been.
But yeah, painting is a good
once we
release.
start on a path, this secret, and then it diverts all
Therapeutic, I guess.
constitutional oversight.
I've actually sold these paintings.
It
People seem
is
to like
the
it.
late 1950s, and it's been like that ever since. Then how do you fix that?
I'm still very used to painting, so I try to keep my
Absolutely scandalous and difficult.
arrogance and ego
Inertia. Most people, when they realize
in
what
check.
it is, they go, let's just leave
I've had a couple people that have been painting for years and years.
you know, let's not
They
ratify.
think we must eat. They get mad because I get a little bit of recognition
But
or
now we've reached the point,
whatever. And,
environmentally, geopolitically, but also the threat
I
of
don't entirely believe it.
technologies in the hands of the wrong people getting used more and more and more in an aggressive way, and in a way that could harm the interests of all of humanity. So I think there's a
Way to put my feelings out. Yeah.
big wave of change happening. And I'll never forget, I think it was last year,
Especially
or about a year and a half ago or so, and a gentleman who works with this covert group that's coming forward and defecting. He was driving me from one place to another in Southern California. And when he dropped me off in a place where I was going to stay, he turned to me and it was very emotional. This is a special forces guy. He said, Dr. Bear, thank you for what you're doing for those of us stuck on the other side. What do you mean? You've been stuck in these illegal programs, but they want out. And they got in those programs not knowing that they were illegal. So let me frame this for people. Everyone says, well, the government's hiding this. The government, like I said, knows very little about this. It's compartmented under an illegal operation or a deep black program. The other part of it is that so many of the people in those programs are really genuinely patriotic, and they're genuinely courageous, wonderful people. But by the time they realize, and you have to get very high up in the program, very high up, to realize it's being run unconstitutionally and illegal. They're in it, and they're in. It's like, you know, they're made men.
Look at anything like that.
There's not a path out.
Yeah. Maybe a little more like this.
They risk their lives at the table. So we're trying to create a path
I haven't done a self-portrait yet.
that can transition out, but it's
Maybe I should at some point.
very dangerous. And they know that. And these are conversations I have privately with all of these people who are in that situation. Keep in mind, they're wonderful people, courageous, they're the best and the brightest. They really are. And they want to do the right thing. So I think we, the public, have to understand that. We have to not paint everyone involved with these programs with the same brush, because many of them are actually victims of having been in service or in a corporation, and they move up through the system. They're tested as to whether they'll keep secrets. And then they move into something that is very advanced technology, advanced operations dealing with non-human craft and all of this, UFOs, UAPs. And even then, initially they think, well, the president knows, the Congress knows, it's classified, but it's under the correct oversight. Now, it's very...
You're a nice guy, Bob. You're a chill call. Trying to be here more times. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Because how do you get out and live to tell the tale?
Believe it or not, there's people in the world that think I'm the world's biggest asshole.
Part
I
of
think
it
it's
is
because I don't react in the way they think
which of course we all
I should react.
included. But I think that, you know, at this point, there's enough wanting to do this, and there's enough support for it.
Maybe I'm a little different in real life than I am when I'm sitting here alone.
That are wanting to pivot away from those, what are being called legacy, the old guard, into this new era. And we need to be kind and supportive and understanding the people who, by no fault of their own, found themselves trapped,
This reminds me of a Picasso.
and they didn't know that
I went to a museum in Manhattan a couple of weeks ago.
legal. How would that?
They had a big
Because if you understand the nature of a partner,
exhibit on
you don't know if you're in one
Renoir.
and your best friend is in another.
A lot of this, I totally knew a lot of this. So, ship trying to social key.
34 years going across
And,
silos and across various compartmented operations.
yeah, they had a couple of actual classes there.
Government
Kind of expanded my
whatsoever.
view on a lot of these things. I didn't take that much notice of art before. I started paying attention, then afterwards, I started like,
They're not at a level where they know who the leadership and
Yeah.
what's being done, who's being lied to,
thank you.
Congress or in the White
Thank you
House,
very much.
what kind of machinations are going on at that very high level. Now, the weird
You can
and strange
feel,
thing about my life is I started,
feel like,
I started as a young doctor being asked to come in and brief a sitting director of the CIA who genuinely had been denied access, and the president, his president,
you can go to that website
had been denied access.
and you'll find a couple of articles, a couple of galleries that have a bunch of my work on it.
I know the whole story, all, virtually all. But
It's pretty diverse, it's pretty different.
and
Kind of
he
stuff
tried
you
to
want.
fix this problem. He did, but he ran into a buzzsaw. So I think that we have to have compassion even for
But
that.
this guy's talking about,
Because
I'm watching this,
hands on one leg at a time.
Dr. Stephen Rear
And it's dangerous. And not everyone's gonna stop it.
talking about UFOs and stuff. I'm really into
Needs to be done when
UFOs. I like conspiracy theories.
it's on the line.
To me, they're kind of like the whodunit mystery type thing. I think a lot of them are interesting. I know better than believe all of them, but there's some I do believe.
Political
Maybe
classes that's
sound kind of out of them.
accurate.
This guy
Amongst these special forces.
talking about the UFOs.
And the ones who moved up through the system, who now want to come forward, they are made out of the right stuff and cut out of that cloth, and they're very courageous. So we need to honor
And he's got a channel
we
here.
need to respect the
He just uploaded a couple of
Imagine going from a 19 or 20
videos where he's talking, there's gonna be some big
running into this
UFO disclosures like any day now, like some whistleblowers, people
high enough up and you realize
talking about, like, yes, there are UFOs, yes, we've been in contact with them for years,
constitutional operation.
and all that.
But at that point, how do you get out and live
Subject for years of discussion, yeah, it's true.
big
And,
trying to build
one of the
a
reasons I'm
reaction
interested in stuff like that
for the conundrum
is, as my name would indicate, my name is Bob Cutler. And if you do a Google search on Bob Cutler, you will find a whole lot of Bob Cutlers.
is my insurance policy.
But
that are
there's a book called Ike's Mystery Man, and it's about
think that
General President Dwight D. Eisenhower,
take that little example
and
of these
my great uncle, my grandfather's cousin,
and so there are a lot of very
is Bob Cutler, who was the first national security advisor.
intelligence or whatever, or a hybrid of both.
And it's a position that Eisenhower created for my great uncle. So I'm like directly related
And so they have knowledge
to this guy who had also worked for President Truman.
I know some of them are.
As kind of like liaison between the Oval Office and the CIA.
Something where
Then he worked for Eisenhower,
for all the right reasons,
and he was involved in a lot of really heavy-duty
when it's too late.
conspiracy stuff, like the alien thing, the Roswell thing. If you read books about Roswell, you see references to a Robert Cutler, or Bob Cutler, that's my uncle, great uncle. Yeah, the funny thing is, I've got a whole lot of really interesting fruits and nuts hanging in my family tree, on all sides of my family tree. And a lot of them happen to be in intelligence agencies and
Bad system and situation.
stonework type of behind the scenes, kind of like the power behind the throne type of positions. But my namesake, Bob Cutler, he also founded the NSA, the National Security Agency, which was so secret that the government didn't even admit it existed until like the late 1970s.
And we transform.
And
what we need to be able to do is give them
they've gotten in trouble for spying on people and doing really nasty stuff. And so while we're all worried about TikTok and China and everybody else knows who's spying on us through our phone, it's like the NSA.
abundance and peace.
Yeah, you know,
That's one of the reasons why one of my favorite stories
that'd be way more worried about them.
of course,
Just to definitely. Yeah.
from
And I haven't made up my mind whether or not I totally believe him or if I think he's like
and
a fake plan that some intel company
missile range.
put out there to put out disinformation, or if he's the real deal or what. He could be a mix of all those.
Drove out of
Because especially when it comes to UFOs
down out
and extraterrestrial things,
out there in his Jeep, and there was a
they put out a lot of disinformation.
and it would be solid and then dematerialize.
Highly classified stuff, yeah.
Garage, the desert, and then rematerialize and dematerialize.
It's,
Finally, it became stable.
Now, my Uncle Bob,
The technologies are amazing for
I think at heart he was an honest to goodness, true patriot, and I think he truly believed in the American dream
what happened.
and truly believed America wanted
They would say, would you please
you know,
stop targeting us?
the best of all of it for all of
They
us.
were using the radar that had within it
But then he also got involved in some stuff that,
directional early
like MK Ultra and mind control stuff, and all the conspiracies that were like, wow.
Interstellar space.
He also did a couple things that I'm still trying to wrap my head
And
around.
then you can't navigate a thunderstorm.
Why the hell would he do that?
They're targeted.
But yeah,
I know
he died in the 70s,
technology, so
and I supposedly met him once, so I don't really remember it.
please stop doing. And Air Force would be in a crash yacht.
But if I ever went to a psychic with their crystal ball, and they said, "Oh, we're going to try and connect your ancestors,"
So I sort of
he would be one I want to
in
talk to.
2025,
Um,
where we really
On a slightly different branch of my family tree
want to take
is Lafayette Baker.
we want to stay on the path we're on now.
And Lafayette Baker was Abraham Lincoln's
More and more environmental
head of security.
and worse. So I think that
Kind of whatever. He was very swearing he had no part of the conspiracy.
my little fire
But he was Lincoln's spy master during the Civil War.
and
And Lincoln would send him off down south to go spy on the enemy and collect data and collect information and bring it back.
elements are
Report to Lincoln and report to the generals and tell them what the South is doing.
transformation.
And that guy was a real weasel, in a lot of ways.
Who's coming
Like
forward
the Men in Black, we believe it's real, the ones you can visit, have a conversation with, witnesses here in Brazil.
Oh, yeah,
we'd be.
I think the men in black are actually like interdimensional, like time-traveling beings.
It's funny, I think I offended everybody.
And I would not be surprised if my Uncle Bob had met them a few
Because
times.
everyone was devastated. How could this be? I said,
Yeah, they,
the legacy meeting, the big
Men in Black
work
work for an entirely different level
right
of
now.
something.
They answer to massive.
That work for us.
Right?
Maybe we work for them.
Let's say that you're someone who's a reporter, and you come
We
across
know
this
just
person, you're either
Yeah.
stabbed or you're bribed.
So yeah, the Lafayette Baker,
Take what? You're
who
gonna
worked for Abraham Lincoln's National Security, and he founded the Secret Service, which in the United States is the organization
of
that
an agent
that guards the president, guards,
kills
provides security for
what happened. So
diplomats, and also guards the money, and they're the ones that investigate cases of counterfeiting.
and I think the other part of it is that
So my ancestor
reporters
created the Secret Service along with the Pinkertons, who was another security group.
they want very simple narratives. They want very
And his grandfather was Captain Remember Baker, who fought the Revolutionary War, who was cousin of Ethan Allen of the Green Mountain Boys,
unbelievably
the original Minutemen militia. I don't know how much people in Brazil really know about American history. So if you don't know about this stuff,
so it doesn't
it's
lend
fine.
itself to the soundbite.
And I'm always surprised how much people from other countries do know about American history. When you talk to your average high school kid, they're like, I couldn't tell you, they couldn't tell you who was president for Trump.
So
You know.
when it has their threat,
But yeah, I'm related to a whole lot of these kind of people.
abstract what I'm saying.
On both sides of my family.
90s, I was at
My mom's maiden name is Houston,
where there were a bunch of
and she's a representative of Sam Houston,
New York
the
social
first president of Texas, who took Texas and seceded from the Union, and then Texas joined Mexico for a few years, and he brought it back. So he was the first and the third president of Texas,
Time Life had been on the board.
and he was senator and
Media Network,
Be careful, probably no idioms.
and all that.
people
He
from.
did very good work.
I maybe know a few things.
And Mike Wallace was a premier
If
investigator.
I was smart, I'd probably not
You could argue.
run my mouth, but I'm not that
And he
smart.
told me this. Of course, his friends with Mike.
There's, yeah, I don't even know what I
Mike
know.
Wallace was impressed.
I know stuff that's already been kind of put out there.
Was because he had found out about this UFO issue, gotten some documented information, and wanted to run with it and succeed.
But,
The
all of this stuff doesn't give me free cheeseburgers in Houston.
It's CBS.
There's a big statue outside of Houston, Texas, of my great grandfather.
And they forbade him
And,
to study. And that's why some years later, he was on Larry King Live, a show I had been on, where he said, he became very depressed because
yeah, the thing is, I never wanted to be a cop, never wanted to be in the military,
he didn't understand that.
never wanted to be in law enforcement or any of that, but
He's not allowed to
if
tell
you're gonna go
the
into
history of the human species.
the intelligence agencies or be a spy or something, you pretty much have to come up through
I'm there sort
the
of,
military, some rank of the military, get training, and also how
financial and social and political.
they check you out,
Someone walks into a dinner party at and shares what they know. And
I've thought about being a
and so
spy.
it was a head of the show, and he said, let me tell you, the bottom line of this is, we, the fourth estate,
Certainly be interesting, but,
scribes taking dictation from the right hand of the king. The right hand of the king was this new military-industrial financial complex that Eisenhower warned about when he left office, just before Kennedy, President Kennedy was sworn in. So he said basically on certain stories, there is no compromise. And now this was a very senior media guy, and I'm very young. I mean, I'm in my 30s, I guess, or maybe I was. And I'm there with this tight, corporate media, and he's explaining how this works. So now extrapolate that across the media spectrum. Even big podcasts that I know of, they wanted to have the whole story of this on. They say, well, if you want to get this huge amount of this network and have your podcast sponsored, you can't tell this story. You can tell part of it. You can tell the disinformation part of it. By the way, if it's in the mainstream media,
Sometimes they're good at mixing paints, you get a color, match a color, other times they sit for hours and destroy the entire painting because
it's the gaslight the political leaders and as well
because of the
media about what the actual truth is. So they always want people, they will open the door to you if you're willing to say the UFOs are a threat to the national security, we need more money for the military industrial complex. I'm making this very simple. But if your narrative turns that direction, every door opens. Right? Because the powers that be that control the big financial entities and the vertically and horizontally integrated media, that's the story they want to hear. That's the true narrative. Now, if you have a narrative counter to that,
but I'm waiting for the UFOs to show up. The Space Brothers from Zeta Reticuli
the truth will set
to appear and
personal pitch.
take over.
So
Hopefully they have our best interests at heart, although
I always flash on.
nobody would travel this far
You
to
can't
get to us and have our best interests. They're thinking about their best interests. And more than likely,
That's part of the problem.
what they're considered about is
And I was
still
born
here.
1990
Well, if you have a 2-year-old kid,
who said,
there's that age where a 2-year-old is just getting learning to walk.
the truth is so
Then they're learning to run, and all of a sudden they're very mobile. And, you take your eyes off that kid for 30 seconds, he could be walking away down the street, getting eaten by a dog, or
what the technologies
running in traffic, or doing, causing all kinds of trouble.
through propaganda
And I think that's kind of where
for operations.
humans and
This guy knew all that. And I
the
thought,
planet Earth are, we're just starting to get mobile, we're just starting to reach out to space, sending probes to Mars,
yeah, whatever, bro.
different places, we're just kind of exploring our little universe.
Didn't take long within
And
the man every
I
word.
think the extraterrestrials,
So
whatever solar federation there is out there,
and it is sort of
they take notice of this, and they're like, okay,
information coming out.
these assholes developed
Shock to the
the neutron bomb, the nuclear bomb,
think we have to be compassionate
and they've
to, and
proven that they're willing to use it,
whether it be with people in
and
Congress
they're very warlike, so
around the world or military people.
we gotta do something about this.
Give them the information that they're ready and to digest and understand. Because, you can't go from 1 and 1 is 2.
See where we're going.
Yeah.
Well, according to guys like this, and
It's advanced capitalism.
other UFOs, where the aliens have been here for thousands of years,
That's why I started
possibly longer than humans have.
films, and thank all of you who helped crowdfund.
And,
We need to do another one, don't we, Michael?
yeah, it's,
Really catches all this up now that this is coming forward and coming to a head. But I think we have to be very
Yeah, I
careful,
don't know.
both in terms of the promise of this moment, but the risks. And the risks are the very powerful interests that don't want the full story out, that want us to take a aggressive, hostile stance towards non-human life and intelligence and what have you. They may not go quiet, right? And that is the risk. The big risk is that they don't. And they're holding all the technological powers. Keep in mind, let me use another big here for an hour.
oh yeah, there's been a lot of cases
I'm going to share this story.
of that where
Because it's circulated all over the internet. I found it hilarious.
UFO crashes, and we know about it almost instantly somehow.
Back in,
Oh, absolutely. It's been the subject of much obsession in the UFO community. So what really happened?
yeah, well, it was because I was the guy that instigated that. And back in 1997, April, we had done some closed meetings for members of Congress off-site, not at the Congress, but at the West in Georgetown. And there were a number of members of Congress there, and eventually what happened is when I was there at that time, I was still living in North Carolina, working full-time as an emergency doctor and whatnot. I was asked to brief, when I was going to be up there anyway, the head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Tom Wilson, and is known as J2, head of intelligence. So prior to the brief meeting with him at the Pentagon, I had sent some information up.
I would be allowed to spy.
Contacts, my POC,
I talk too much.
that had some documents.
Move to contact by June 1st. Pretty good. Yeah, I've heard about that. Maybe I should watch that.
We have declared all those documents open source.
Maybe when we get home later on.
Open source.
Look that up.
Note here to whistleblowers listening. You're under no obligation from your non-disclosure agreements because you were signed it under an operation that was unconstitutional and illegal. Therefore, it has no force of law. That's the foundation of the Disclosure Project. Nobody quite understands this. Constitutional lawyers wouldn't, because that's how I came about this theory and ran it by some constitutional
All pretty
lawyers,
interesting stuff.
both left and right, and who said yes. That's
Maybe they just think we're cagey and they want to come down and
it's a legal program. It can't
eat
be
us,
enforced
harvest
under
us.
national security law. So it's basically they
Some theories say that that's
outline
exactly what they
themselves
want.
as an open source entity by going off the constitutional boundaries and operating illegally and lying to the president, lying to Congress. Anyway, so this gentleman had a keen interest in this issue. So I gave Admiral Wilson in advance some materials. Through that and through him knowing, starting to know where to look, this is what I've been doing with Senator
Right, very good try.
Yeah. Recently, he hit pay dirt. He contacted
You catch more flies with honey.
that was directly related to this.
You know,
And
just kill somebody right off the bat, you can't,
what I heard, what I was related to,
you can't get all the information, you can't find out everything you
look,
know.
I'm Admiral Wilson, I'm
I was thinking about this a few days ago.
They say,
Believe it or not, I've got a few enemies, people out there that
which is military sleep.
hate my guts for really stupid reasons.
UAVs, just for UFOs.
And I don't know if they really believe it or if they just like saying nasty things about me.
And he said, God,
They spread a lot of
I not have a need to know. I'm the head of
really
intelligence.
sick bullshit rumors.
So we will not discuss this with you. They,
You know, I've had little
as he began to push
daydreams like, what if I just killed that motherfucker? Just shut him
a
up.
star off your lapel. So
And then I started thinking, it's like,
so he backed
no, if you kill him,
by the time I get to the
yeah, that'll shut him up, but then there's no way you'll ever get him to recant his story and admit other people have lied about him.
and
You know.
almost 38 years ago.
So sometimes it's
It was April '97, and
a strategic move
he was
not to destroy your enemy.
loosed. I had with me, courtesy, I brought astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who was very interested in this.
And there's some saying somewhere about
Young AIDS,
may your enemies live long enough to
being denied access.
see you prosper or something like that.
He was an attorney.
Enemies, yeah.
And my assistant,
I'm not sure exactly how I do it, but
the Navy guy.
I mean, it pissed people off.
And so that's who was there, but I was
Oh.
conducting it, and he kept
It sounds so egotistical and narcissistic to say, oh, this is jealous of me.
very keen on it.
Really? Jealous of me? One step away from homelessness, living in a shitty neighborhood, a shitty situation,
Need your help.
being very poor, it's like, who the fuck is jealous of me?
He confirmed that at that point. Under control.
I've played a couple of bands that
I
got a little bit of notoriety,
there are
and some people got really jealous of that.
that can do
But,
stuff. That's what he did. He did like this.
That wasn't,
Round B-2 stealth bombers, which is the best thing I know
that
about.
was 35 years
He
ago.
said it's
These
.7.
people are still mad about it.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how to take on it.
Other times I argue with people on the internet.
And he said,
And I'm
"It's
right.
not."
And,
So that's how the meeting.
and I proved them wrong, and they
Now,
get
there's all
pissed
kinds
off
of
about that.
mythology around all of this, but since I was the briefer, you know, I
So,
can say this.
you know, either that or maybe I'm just a huge asshole and I deal with what doesn't
I
know.
think you take that example, everyone listen.
If you think about it, most of the people that you really hate, that you really don't like, you sit there and look at them and like, you know, you're a huge asshole and you don't even know you're an asshole. That's the problem. You know, oh, maybe I'm one of them.
So this sort of super.
I'd be the last to admit it. That was too long. Yeah, there's people that are still hateful, and I haven't even been in the same room with them for 30 years. Seriously, 30 years. But I hear about it. If my name comes up, wherever they are, they suddenly just start saying just horrible, horrible things about you, making up really horrible stories.
Who's now helped us.
And of course, I hear about it right away. Someone's all over me. Oh, you know what that guy said about you? And I'm just like,
So,
yeah,
and
like
that was
an
an
asshole.
or something, 40 years ago.
But,
I think that
but there's some people that believe it,
and
you know, partly because,
with
I don't know why.
this wonderful
They wouldn't believe the worst of somebody.
who was, this was Admiral Wilson, and he was the head of the
Well, thank you, I appreciate that, idiot.
Those of you who don't know what that is, it's the
My life here is,
military intelligence agency,
you know,
Pentagon.
not so bad compared to
Military intelligence operations.
other places and other people. I know people a lot worse off than me.
This is director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, and it was a
But at
general.
the same time, sometimes I just have a hard time
He asked us
navigating
a couple years later, and he asked me to come in and brief him in a briefing at his conference room.
people in life.
And he had the same thing happen. He had been denied access. He had been blown off with a tool. Now, what's ironic, I had whistleblowers in the DIA working under him who were rented apartments, but that had never made its way up to the top. There were gatekeepers that were blocking it, so that the old man, as they called him, wouldn't know. Now, people say, well, why would that happen?
To be candid, where I live,
People in those compartments
is
apartments, and the people,
about 200,000 people.
if you know about this,
Not a small town, not very big
it's
either.
because they know that you will play ball with the CDC. That's your sole criteria. Will you go along
And
with
sometimes people just don't have enough to do with their
the
life.
level of secrecy or not? If the answer is yes,
Or they're so desperate for
so there have been some CIA
drama,
about this, like George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton.
whatever.
There are others who haven't. There have been some presidents who know a little bit and no control.
I think I'm just not very good at,
There are some senators and members of the House who have been read in, others who haven't. The ones who have
yeah.
are the ones
We
who
all go through bad times. Yeah, true.
the ones who aren't, no matter how
And I try to remind myself, people that are being assholes,
be the president of the United States.
whatever, everybody's got their problems.
You don't if you're not willing to
You say, everybody's fighting a battle you don't know anything about.
That's just
Cut
the
'em
truth.
slack. I try to,
Truth about how it works.
I try to live by that.
Now, that dysfunction,
And I know people that are mentally ill,
1957, 8, 9,
kind of they pull a lot of bullshit, and,
never been fixed.
but they're mentally ill, so it's kind of not really their fault. But on the other hand,
Big problem.
ultimately, you do have to take accountability
It was
for
more in 1950.
everything you do and say.
1970. And it's just one of
But
those.
some people seem to think, all they gotta do is, oh, but I'm mentally ill, so you have to let me off the hook.
Or something like that, who remain operating out of control. And that is how you end up in a
And
situation.
that's sort of true, also sort of,
We're trying to find a path out. Lots of people of goodwill who are in these covert programs related to you. Want that to happen, and I think there's.
Well, thank you.
I think with what's coming forward in the next.
I suppose I've done some bad things and have,
Well, I've been doing this, I'm using my, but, you know, there are others who haven't. There are others who have, and I think there are others who have, and I think with what's coming forward in the next. I suppose I've done some bad things and have,
Uh,
be.
Not really that I've been into.
I hope a new chapter. So that's where we
I didn't really realize how bad they were at the time.
First episode, what do you want us to?
But I've made my amends, anybody got hurt, you know.
I think part of what's gonna happen.
Most of the stuff I did when I was drunk or high, I haven't, I've been clean sober for 36 years.
That are gonna take it and spin it. That's what's always happened. And they're gonna try to spin it in directions that fit the narrative that they want to advance. One of my concerns, I'll be very blunt, is that as soon as this gentleman and his guys decided to unmask themselves, in other words, come forward named, which was not the original plan. The original plan was to hand over all the evidence, a lot of the evidence. These operations, the downing of the craft, the man-made ones to me.
Yeah, ultimately when people fuck with you, say bad things about you.
Well, as soon as that decision was made and they put it on a time.
It says more about them than it does about
Where
you.
we are. All the drones stuff started. It was sort of a psyop. And, you know, whether they're Chinese or whatever, the button to hit go on that
But that doesn't
related to this.
That makes me feel all that much better when you're in a situation, somebody saying, I heard about you, somebody told me all about you.
Ridiculous.
Blah, blah, blah.
Where, for example, the
Wait a minute.
suicide bomber.
I don't even get a chance to make a first impression.
Tesla truck at a building on New Year's Day. He wrote a manifesto referring to gravitic propulsion systems, meaning anti-gravity, all the stuff this team's going to bring out. So everyone thinks
Life is
he's
life.
one of our guys. He's not. You have no relation. In fact, no one in my network even knew had ever heard his name. But why did that happen? It appeared to be a psyop or something to create a tainted version of this. Now we haven't all the details on it yet. We're investigating it.
That's right, clear.
It's not everything that meets the eye on that weird event. Same thing with all these
That sort of person.
weird fog stuff.
It's always got to be saying something bad about somebody else.
An alien invasion started. Well, all
And
that
sometimes they can be very
right
manipulative.
after, around the time.
Say things in a way that's very seductive and alluring. You're like, oh, really? You know, they line you in before you know it. They've got it all wrapped up in some
That's a game changer.
bullshit.
And particularly someone at that level with other people and representing information from 6.
Well, I try to give myself some time every day or every couple of days to sit back and think
So,
about things.
but the point I'm making here is that there is a risk. The public, this is why I'm doing this podcast.
What have I been told lately?
Whatever
This
shit
bullshit.
unfolds, here's where you need to listen. And I don't want to overstate my position, but if you want to know what's really going on, tune into this podcast. I will not varnish the truth. It'll be the truth. The whole truth is I know it. It'll be direct. I am not a politician. I am not looking for a job. I am not looking for money. And I am not looking for a political position. I'm going to tell you the truth, no matter what. So this is why people need to understand that's my mission. It's my purpose. And I'm wired into enough of this, as you can tell by now, that I'll be able to speak with authority. So, but there will be a technical chorus.
How is this guy, a whistleblower, still so wired into
The other big risk is that what happened on New Year's Day with that Cybertruck explosion.
why would you not trust
Put
him?
that on steroids. They
All this
put
stuff
on
you say is
steroids.
true.
Even worse events.
Well, thank you.
Emergency doctor, here's
I
the
appreciate that.
you know, you have a multiple, multi-system trauma coming in, right? With 10 victims. You hope for the best.
Big bang is just something hitting that wall.
You plan for absolutely the
I
worst.
also wondered if this place is haunted.
My ethos here is to hope for the best, to be positive, but plan for the worst.
E.T. coming in,
I
yeah.
think that I'm going to be very
Landing on the roof.
watch what's going on, what kind of spin is put on
These guys.
by both the UFO subculture and the media, but what actually
These
is
little frog
done
alien dudes.
by this corrupt organization, which is not yet under control. This is going to be,
The end of the
unfortunately,
party.
he may not know this yet,
Or do you
although
know
I
the
think he
aliens?
does by now, that the incoming president's biggest task is going to be this, much bigger than the Russian
Yeah, kind of maybe jump a little bit.
or the Mideast, by orders of magnitude. Couple of them.
This was inspired by
That's not quite
thinking
what
about
I
the
have
people
some
that
senior people in the incoming.
they're always saying bad things.
I'm not going to talk about those meetings.
Kind of
We've been
driven
doing
by
intensively over the last couple of
jealousy and
years.
anger.
It's a process, but that process needs to quicken.
This was pretty much done.
Because the law enforcement end of this has not yet
Or
been.
this one, it's called trepidation.
Needs to get.
Trepidation is when they chisel a hole in your skull so the demons can escape.
But we'll see.
So it's these two doctor dudes,
Meanwhile,
are working on this guy.
the information
They
coming
got a
out,
big chisel thing
and
and
it would become obvious
get
to
ready to chisel a hole in his head.
the public if some false flag operations
I
continue.
wanted to do it kind of in
Tell
a
you that the
medieval sort of style.
and some of these other things that have happened are not a particularly good
Thank you.
indicator, as we'd say in medicine.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
That organization is just going to go quiet. This is why I think that we lose the incoming
What I'm
president.
doing these faces, I call spell out trepidation like they would have written it in the
And
40
figure out
years.
a pathway out, including this amnesty.
There's this one, I think kind of lost my way with.
Do so safely without
was like three,
liabilities.
like
I would tell you
cave wall paintings of these three dudes, but
of a fortune
sort of lost my way with it.
who's
I'm not
received,
sure
but he's not only afraid
where I'm going with it.
legal problems, but he's also afraid for
Maybe
the
I should say it's done.
children and
But
grandchildren.
it's good like it is.
So there's a lot of mechanisms that need to be put in place that we've been advising literally since the Clinton administration.
Then if you go to that link and look at my other stuff, you'll see that the men in black and UFOs and aliens are a pretty common theme in a lot of my stuff. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, this Trump inauguration on Monday is going to be.
So we got your test results back. I'm afraid you're autistic. I'm autistic. No.
Yeah. And it's too bad TikTok is shut down now. But it was TikTok, it was the Chinese themselves that decided to shut it down when they did. And I'm sure they have the reasons for doing that, but I really wish that they had waited until after the inauguration. Because I was hoping to see a lot of TikTokers out there doing man on the street sort of newscasting about the inauguration. Maybe what you imagine. Yep. Yeah, my mind often goes to the paranoid. UFOs and what else is out there thinking about? Yeah. It's, yeah. I've got some other ideas about things and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's not that I really trust the Chinese so much. Everything I've seen, heard. Yeah, like the Chinese really not our friends. But, yeah, and China has been hacking us. They made hacks on our power grid. Yeah, TikTok will be back sooner or later. There's just too much money. But they're not going to sell the algorithm, which is Apparently the whole magic of the thing. Twitch. There's a couple of Twitch people I like to watch.
Every single day, I'm like in the right completely. Like, what do you think? What? Unless I want to pay like 8 times more. It's just like, I don't know. It's like undervaluing yourself. But that's really common that. But usually people want to go live though. It's just like, yo, it's not the relationship that works for us. But I don't know how to do that. Yeah, I'm not really quick.
Yeah. Same thing with feelings. You're not okay, need to vent, let it out. Yeah. Yeah, it's, sometimes we don't express ourselves as much as we should. I know some people, I think, express themselves a little too much. And I wish they'd shut up.
Gave props to someone else.
I told you, so we're going to shut up. Yeah. It's 1:30 a.m. here.
He found a negative today. Sound concerts are they? I don't know. All my shit's like done right now. My dick hurt. Oh my god. Thank you, Dino. Instead, my dick hurt.
Just like being weird. Just to watch people. You're going to go to sleep. Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by, and please check on me some more. I'll be here somewhere. We're on TikTok with you know. But thanks for stopping by.
He says, now I'm referring your services. Look, I'm trying to go now outside for me, and now you. I'm not good. I'm not good. I'm just not good. You gave me a list of people, and I know, like, I know one of them talks shit about my company all the time. They're jello. Other, where there's drama in this scene chat. There's drama in every business you do. It's so funny. Anything that has to be fucking drama. Heading this like jealousy shit. It's hilarious. And I just do my own thing. I just see it. I don't care. I don't react to it. Funny though. Anybody yelling? I don't know. There we go. I just say out. I observe and I laugh.
Got your friend here to talk. Okay, well, thank you, Ryan. Yes, I appreciate that. Good night, sweet dreams, and may your visits from the Men in Black be sexy. Or happy. Whatever. Yeah, I'm probably going to shut this down and go home. Here.
His chat was not working. Why is that even on? I gotta turn it on. I can't believe I didn't beat Roblox.
See.
I'm gonna like 1 year straight shutdown. Goats? You like goats? I'm trying to see if there's any interesting live, so I can just steal my content and watch them and laugh. But like, everyone's boring.
Yeah.
Like, no one's got like me. I'm so fucking bored. I'm literally sitting here replying back.
I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down.
No one's got that like organic content.